To do some sketchy shit, doo-dah, doo-dah. This is gonna work. Come on, you fucker. Well, I guess I'm just let it sit like that and see what works. so I'm mocking up the intake manifold in the throttle body here, and the problem that I'm running into now is, so I put the throttle pedal and the cable, like I got all of that situated before I had the intake manifold on here. I was messing around with a different throttle body. So now I had this just kind of mocked up like this. I was planning on extending it, you know, modifying it later, but now the problem that I'm having is that because of where the cable's located, if I bolt it onto there, it ends up putting this cable really, really high up, and it's stretching it really hard. So I need to bring it down and kind of realign it, get it in a different position so that it not only pulls it to full throttle, which is what I was having problems before, but also not stretch the cable. And this, I kind of messed the cable up when I was pulling the engine out one of the 20 times that I did. Got it stuck on the tranny. That was my bad. Okay, so now we're back under the car, and I let this exhaust cool down. Basically what I was trying to fix is that the exhaust was pointed down at the ground, so I was hoping that by heating this up and jacking up on this point that it would bring it up, maybe ever so slightly. I don't know if it's gonna work. Let's find out. You know what, boys? I think it did the trick, actually. Yeah, nice. Nice. So before, the bottom of this flange right here was like here. It was way, way too low. It was like below. I was worried because there's this little rubber thing to, like, you know, it's like the lowest point in the car, and it was lower than this. And I was like, oh God, because I know it needs to be about level with this. And I think now, I think it is. I think we're looking good. You know what? I think I actually, by doing that, I might have actually given myself a little bit more clearance between the heat shield for the power steering and the exhaust, which I had to do a bunch of dents to get it to clear anyway, and a whole bunch of messing around. I had a dent a whole bunch right here because that's where the sway bar goes. Well, no matter what I did, I couldn't get the sway bar to work, so I ended up taking it out. Most of the Mini guys that I've read, it seems like they actually just remove it anyway for the track. It just makes more sense. You can see the sway bar mount up in there. I had to drop the whole subframe to get it out, which is, you know, it's not the worst job in the world, but, you know, wasn't ideal. Definitely wasn't ideal. Because these bolts, you can see, it's, yeah, it goes right up to the body, so you have to have the subframe down to get those bolts out. It is a really dumb design. Thank you, BMW, for your infinite wisdom. Oh, you can see that this stupid thing was getting stuck in there and was hanging it open. But I don't think I have quite enough pull on it. It doesn't seem like it was hitting quite 100%. So I might have to mess with it a little bit more. Just trying to decide how I want to do it. Kind of cool thing with this cable is, like, since it's like a, you know, like a K-series specific cable, it's got this threaded section here, so I can lengthen or shorten the casing on it a little bit. So it gives me a little bit of leeway back and forth about how tight I want it to go. So that's what I'm going to try to do here. Safety first. I'm still having a little bit of problem with it. It's like it still doesn't quite want to get 100% like on the throttle opening, but I think it's hard to say. I mean, it'd be interesting to put a TPS in there and like check the voltages and see like where it's at. I mean, obviously you can set it, but you know, I'm wondering if it might be close enough to call it, because I also noticed this was flexing a little bit on this bracket. So I think once I weld onto this, it won't flex as much and it'll pull it a little bit further. But I'm kind of thinking at the moment that it might be all in the accelerator pedal, because I had to do a bunch of modification to that. It was working on the bench, but I mean, obviously this is more real world, putting it on the car. So I'm gonna, you know, I think what I want to do is I'm gonna weld the bracket onto this, strengthen this bracket up so it doesn't flex as much. And then I'm going to set it about as close as I can. And then I think I'm just gonna call it for the day, because I'd really like to see what happens when I put a TPS in it. And like, going off of video is kind of hard. I might have to have somebody else hit the gas and then look at the throttle pedal myself, because it's really kind of deceiving on the video. I think it makes it look like it's not as open as it actually is. But yeah, we're gonna start on this bracket and move on from there. Well, this is kind of how things go. I've been messing with this throttle bracket for a while, you know, trying to get everything to line up. And I go digging through some stuff because I'm like, oh, I'll find some metal to add onto this. And what do I find but another throttle cable bracket? I mean, I've got a shitload of them, but like, I didn't see this specific one, right? And now I'm looking at it and I'm like, dude, it's the right height. It's the right height that I need. It's got the right bolt pattern. It's just a little bit too long. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna chop this thing down, shorten it up a little bit, and weld it back together and call it a day. So scratching the first throttle cable bracket I did and just gonna move on. That's how it goes. That worked well. I'm not a welder, but you know, I mean, she'll hold. It'll get, yeah, be all right. All right, well, I think that's gonna work out. It's definitely a lot more solid. It's not moving around. It's not, the cable isn't nearly as stressed as it was. That, and it gives me more clearance because I was kind of worried it was coming up too high. I don't think it was gonna hit the hood, but I guess it could have. Yeah, I think that's gonna work. My only concern is it's still not getting quite 100% on the throttle blade. But I mean, realistically, I mean, we're talking, it's got to be within like 2%. And I think, I mean, 98%, I mean, that's basically wide open. So if I have any problems in the future, I can address it. But I think that's going to work. So I think what I'm going to do is pull this off and throw some paint on it and move on to the next thing. I'm really not convinced this is gonna seal, but we'll find out. eBay throttle body shit. I don't even know if this fucking idle air control valve is even any good. Just found it in a box. We'll find out. Actually, it's definitely not gonna work because there's not even a fucking hole in the intake, so I'll probably, yeah, I might have to just delete it, but it'll plug a hole for the moment. Now that I'm looking at it, I forgot there's like 2 ports on the bottom of this intake that are like not finished, so I think I'm gonna have to drill them and tap them for either plug them or for vacuum or something. I don't think I really need any extra vacuum ports, but we'll do something with it. See, here's the ports that I was talking about, that they're like, they go through, but they're not threaded. They don't go to anything. So I don't know why the hell they did that. So I think the plan is drill them out, tap it for 1/8 pipe thread, and either plug it or, I don't know, put a nipple in it for something. Yeah. Help plug the drill in. Ooh, getting crazy. Man, I must have done a way better job of drilling this hole than I did this hole, because this one's like super, super tight, but this one's like perfect. So, I don't know, but it'll work, so whatever. Now that I got that intake manifold, got it all drilled and tapped there, I'm gonna go wash it, because there's a lot of shit in here that I don't want in the engine. So, I need to get this map sensor off of here so I can put it on the throttle body. And yeah, because it's a Honda, these screws are always completely seized in there. And unfortunately, I don't have an impact driver here. And I can't get it off a screwdriver. I can't get vice grips in there. I don't have anything to cut a slit into it to make a screwdriver work. So I guess I'm just gonna weld this onto there and try to get it out that way. Hopefully it didn't overheat the map sensor, but it might have. In which case, let's get another one. Really need to clean up in here. I keep losing all my stuff. Where did I put my ratchet? Haha! Success! Oh! Well, that one fucking broke off because it was stuck in the intake anyway. I guess we'll look around. I bet I have another one somewhere. Hey, success! I found one on one of my box of parts. Now I just gotta find a bolt to replace this janky ass thing. That might be harder. Honestly, it didn't take as long as I thought. Found one like right away. Now, if you don't have like a whole shitload of buckets of bolts like laying around that you can just dig through, like what are you doing? Like, do you work on cars? So this stuff, you get it from Porsche. It's like meant for O-rings. Dude, this stuff is the shit. It works so good. If you got to put something in that has O-rings, oh man, it's just so good. Just slides right in there. Now the problem I have is, I think it's bottomed out. I don't know what's going on, but it slid in there. Weird. It's like the hole, I don't know, isn't drilled enough or something. So I need to, I might need to drill this out. I'm not sure. I do need to take this off anyway because I need to make sure that the air from here is actually going to here, like it's actually getting airflow and it's actually seeing vacuum, because I ran into that before where the manifold absolute pressure sensor didn't have vacuum, and it was in a spot that was on what you would think where it would get vacuum because it was on the throttle body. And because of something going on between these two sections, it didn't get anything. So I ended up having to drill a hole in the throttle body to get vacuum. It took me so long to figure out why it wouldn't start. It was so dumb. It would like run and then shut off. And I'm like, what is going on? So the good news is that yes, it will get vacuum. If you can see that little hole right there, that's where it goes, right up into that hole, into there, and that's what we want. But I need to drill this out. Don't worry, I'm not clamping on the throttle body surface. This is definitely on the idler control valve where it's not gonna hurt anything. All right. Well, that worked. But now I have a new problem. So the new problem is because this is a freaking Chinese throttle body, that hole doesn't line up at all. Even though it's bottomed out and it's exactly where it needs to be. What the hell? It's always something. That's not gonna work. Gotta try something else now. Ooh, that's hot. Hell yeah. Fucking money. Fits now. That'll work. Now I just gotta clean this thing out just like I did the intake. Alright. All this is back on. Got the bracket all painted for the throttle cable. So everything's working. I did put this fitting in while off camera. Put this plate on there. I know it's fake, but it still looks better that way. And hey, I mean, unless you watch this video, you won't even know, right? I don't know why I do this to myself. This bitch gotta come back off again. Cause I grabbed this little guy off of a different throttle body because I was like, oh, we can just, you know, plug this hole for the moment and get a block off plug down the line. Same problem as the fucking map sensor. Doesn't fit in the hole. I need to drill it. Off it comes. Okay, that's on there now. I just had to drill that main hole. These two, they actually lined up, surprisingly. You know, I'll say, guys, I totally get why, like, you know, people are like, why would you get Chinese products when you could, you know, buy the real thing and whatever. Like, I get it, you know. If you got the money, buy the right parts. Like, 100% quality parts are where it's at. However, I will say, if you're on a budget, these Chinesium parts, they can be made to work. They don't work out of the box. Ever. You always got to modify them. I mean, I've spent so much time just trying to get this throttle body to work, you know, and this intake manifold, you know, how to drill these holes and drill all these holes and all this stuff. And it's like, if you know, with the correct intake manifold, it'll bolt on and everything will work. But to save a little bit of money, I mean, honestly, a little bit of work goes a long way. And I'm the kind of guy that likes to put in the extra mile, you know. If it needs a little bit of work to make it, you know, line up, I'm going to do it. One more thing, guys, about the Chinesium parts. This is very important. If you get a China throttle body, make sure you take these screws out and Loctite them, because it will cost you an engine if you don't. I have not done that yet because I'm out of Loctite, but I will remember before this thing runs. Next thing on the agenda, I'm going to try and tackle the axle situation. So, from what I've seen, what I've read, there's another guy that has done one of these. He did his pretty different from, you know, what some of the other guys I've seen. In any case, he used, these are B-Series Integra axles. And supposedly that guy was having some sort of problem with this area rubbing on the inside of the hub or something, and it was like, it wasn't clearing. But apparently they, other than that, they bolt in, and he was having to switch out one of the axles for like a EP3 outer. So I'm gonna throw these in, see where we're at, find out what happens. Oh, well, that's not what you want to do. Watch out for that line there. Speed sensor. So I do see what they're talking about. Actually, there's a ring right here, this plastic ring, and it was actually hitting right there. I can just take this off, it's removable. We'll see if that's enough. So it looks like that I'm starting to understand why he might have swapped out the outer. I don't know if it's a little bit shorter somehow, like on the depth of where it hits, but right now this is the problem I got. That axle, it's yeah, it's too long. I guess I'll look at the other side and see if it's the same way. He was saying the B series, I think it might have been I think it was the driver's side that went right in. So I'll go over to the driver's side, have a look, see if that one goes right in. If it does, then I'm gonna have to do some more research and see what I gotta do about this passenger side, I suppose. Sometimes it's just the angle of the dangle. Well, that's good news. The driver's side does go right in. It's just a B-Series DC Integra axle. And it went right in. Ball joint's on now. I guess I'll have to do, I'm gonna put the rest of this back together. I guess I gotta find an axle, and I don't know where one is. Then I'm gonna have to do some research on the passenger side. I'm not really sure what I need to do about that. Just did a little bit of research, and turns out, yeah, it was my fault that the axle doesn't fit. So, yeah, I think this B-Series axle might work. The guy, it's interesting, the post was actually saying that this one might be too short, and I'm like, what? And then I started doing some research, and then I realized that the intermediate shaft I have is wrong, because the one that I have came off of a manual transmission K24 Accord, and apparently they're longer than a RSX manual, which I did not know. I just, yep, I thought a manual K-Series intermediate shaft, I thought they were all the same, but they're not, so the more you know. Well, I found an axle nut. Actually, I found two of them. It helps to have a lot of extra Honda shit laying around. Got this side is all bolted up. I took that sway bar link out of the way that was driving me crazy because it doesn't need to be in there anymore. The other side, I still got to figure out what's going on with this intermediate shaft. And keep moving on. I know I'm gonna have some parts this week, so I can keep going. I think I'm supposed to have the wiring harness and like the shifter and cables and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'll definitely have plenty of stuff to move forward. I'm gonna have to see if I can find another intermediate shaft to try and figure out that situation. And yeah, I think that's a good time to end. I need to go get some food, take a shower. So peace out.